Welcome to The Explainer. You ever watch a war movie and think, no way, that could happen? Well, today we're diving into a really weird Hollywood paradox. It's when true stories of heroism are so insane, so off the charts, that filmmakers actually have to tone them down. Why? Because you, the audience, probably wouldn't believe the truth.
And it all kind of kicked off with this one Reddit comment about the movie Hacksaw Ridge. This person nailed it. The real story was way crazier than what we saw in the theater. And that just begs the question, right? At what point does a true story become, well, too true to be believed? So, the movie was Hacksaw Ridge. The man was Desmond Doss. Now, this guy was a combat medic in World War II. And get this, he was a conscientious objector. He wouldn't even touch a gun. Yet, on the hellscape of Okinawa, he saved 75 men, single-handedly. That alone is an unbelievable story, right? But what the movie didn't show you, that's where things get truly insane. So you're probably thinking, what could they possibly have left out? I mean, the movie already showed him kicking live grenades away. The answer is a chain of events so intense, so heroic, that the filmmakers literally thought the audience would call fake on a true story. Okay, just listen to this. It's like a cascade of pure guts. First, a grenade blast rips into him, leaving him with 17 shrapnel wounds. But as they're carrying him off on a stretcher, he sees another guy who's worse off, and he gives up his spot. So now he's waiting, bleeding out, and a sniper shoots him, shattering his arm. What does he do? Does he give up? No. He grabs a rifle stock, splints his own broken arm, and then he crawls 300 yards through enemy fire to safety. You see what I mean? It feels like something out of a comic book, not a history book.
And here's the crazy part. This wasn't just a one-off thing with Desmond Doss. When you start digging, you find this as a pattern. It turns out, Hollywood has a history of downplaying real-life heroes because their stories are just too wild to be believed. And that brings us to another legend of World War II.
Let's talk about Audie Murphy. We're talking about the most decorated American soldier of the entire war. They made a movie about his life called To Hell and Back. And you know who they got to play him? Audie Murphy himself, the real guy. But here's the kicker. Even he agreed they needed to cut some stuff out. For instance, the part where he single-handedly fought off an entire German company while standing on top of a burning tank destroyer that could have exploded at any second. Yeah, they thought that was a bit much for audiences to swallow.
So you have to ask, what's the common thread here? What kind of situation forges these unbelievable heroes? Well, it's almost always born from the most extreme pressure cooker imaginable. A moment where your back is against the wall, retreat isn't an option, and all you can do is fight. We're talking about the anatomy of a last stand. Yeah, a last stand isn't just another fight. It's a crucible. It's where legends are made. Think about it. A small, totally outnumbered force, completely cornered, facing impossible odds. Look, victory is probably not going to happen, but the way they fight, their absolute defiance, that's the story that lives forever. And it's in these moments that history gives us heroes that even the best screenwriters couldn't invent. And if you want to talk about the ultimate crucible, there's really no place like the Battle of Stalingrad. This wasn't just a battle, it was a citywide meat grinder, a hell on earth that churned out some of the most legendary last stands in history and pushed human beings right to the edge of what's possible and then pushed them even further. To really wrap your head around the kind of brutal stubbornness we're talking about, you just have to look at this one comparison. It's staggering. The entire country of France, with its massive army, fell to the German war machine in 43 days, okay? 43 days. Meanwhile, in Stalingrad, one single solitary apartment building held out for 58 days. So who was holding this building against the full might of the German army? You're picturing a huge garrison, right? Hundreds of soldiers? Nope. For most of those 58 days, it was just 24 men. 24. They were so unbelievably tough that the German general in charge didn't even call it a building on his map anymore. He just marked it Die Festung, the fortress. And what they did in there was just genius born of desperation. They were getting hit with attacks every single day. Tanks, infantry, you name it. So they got clever. They realized they could get up on the roof and fire their anti-tank rifles straight down through the weak top armor of the German tanks. Brilliant. They were this tiny little island of defiance in a literal sea of fire, just holding on until the big Soviet counterattack finally broke through. But Stalingrad wasn't just about these epic fortress defenses. The fighting there got intensely personal, too. It shrunk down from a battle of armies to a battle of wills between two people, a silent, deadly game of cat and mouse fought in the ruins, a war of shadows. See, the Soviet snipers were causing absolute havoc, so the Germans decided to fight fire with fire. They sent in their ace, the best of the best, Major Erwin Koenig. This guy was the head of the German sniper school, and he had one job, and one job only: find and kill the top Soviet sniper, the legendary Vasily Zaitsev. It was the ultimate sniper duel, a master hunter sent to kill a ghost. So for 4 days, these two men stalked each other through the rubble, a deadly chess match. Zaitsev finally figures out where Koenig is hiding, but he has to be sure, so he and his partner set a trap. First, they stick a mitten up on a board. A shot rings out. Okay, he's there. The next day, they go for it. His partner slowly raises a helmet. Koenig, the expert, falls for it. He fires, thinking he's finally won. And for just 1 second, he pops his head up to admire his work. And that was it. That was the mistake Zaitsev had been waiting for. Zaitsev walked away from Stalingrad with 225 confirmed kills. 225. And this quote from him really tells you everything you need to know about how he did it. A good sniper is a sniper alive. It wasn't about flashy, impossible shots. It was about being smart, being patient, and most importantly, living to fight another day. It was a craft, and he was a master.
So let's step back for a second. We've talked about Desmond Doss, Audie Murphy, the guys in Pavlov's house, and Vasily Zaitsev. What's the big takeaway here? What connects all these stories that they feel like they shouldn't be real?
I think it's this. They remind us that real human beings can be pushed to levels of courage and resilience that fiction just can't touch. Because if you wrote this stuff in a script, it would feel fake. But these weren't characters from a comic book. They were regular people put in the most impossible situations who did things that we can barely believe even when we know they're true. And that kind of leaves us with one final chilling thought, doesn't it? If the truth can be this incredible, then what are the actual limits of human courage? Maybe we haven't even seen them yet. If reality can outdo fiction, then what a person can truly endure? Well, maybe that's a story that's still being written. That's all for this explainer.